Hello, Christopher here, and welcome back to the Patriot Report. The Constitution sets up a powerful central government, but a limited one. It gives Congress, the President, and the courts specific powers to govern the nation. But what about everything else? What happens to powers not mentioned in the Constitution? That's where the 10th Amendment comes in. It reads, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people." It's one sentence, but it does a lot of heavy lifting. In fact, it's one of the most important safeguards in the Constitution. It defines the very structure of American government. It draws a clear line between the federal government, the states, and the people. Let's unpack what that means, and why it's vital to the survival of a constitutional republic. The principle of limited federal power. The founders created a federal system, which means power is divided between a central, national, government and regional, state, governments. But they were very clear about this: the federal government only has the powers specifically listed in the Constitution. Everything else? That's left to the states, or directly to the people. This is called the doctrine of enumerated powers. It's one of the most important concepts in constitutional law. So when the 10th Amendment says powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved, it means that Washington can't just do whatever it wants. If a power wasn't granted in the Constitution, the federal government doesn't have it. Why the 10th Amendment was necessary. After the Constitution was drafted in 1787, many Americans were nervous about ratifying it. They worried that a strong central government might become too powerful, just like the British monarchy they had fought against. The Bill of Rights was added in 1791 to address these concerns. While the first 9 amendments protected individual rights, the 10th Amendment was different. It was aimed at protecting state authority and the sovereignty of the people themselves. In essence, it was a reminder: this is a government of limited powers. If the Constitution doesn't say the federal government can do something, it can't. Examples of reserved powers. So what are some powers reserved to the states or the people under the 10th Amendment? Here are a few examples. Education. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say the federal government controls schools. That's why education policy is largely state-run. Local law enforcement. States and localities control their own police and criminal justice systems. Marriage and family law. States regulate marriage licenses, divorce laws, and adoption. Elections. While there are federal standards, each state controls how it runs elections, from voter registration to ballot counting. And beyond the states, the 10th Amendment also recognizes the natural authority of the people. That means not every decision has to go through government at all. Communities and individuals can govern themselves in many areas, so long as they're not violating anyone's rights. Why it's so important in a constitutional republic. In a constitutional republic, power is limited, divided, and accountable. The 10th Amendment helps ensure that no one branch or level of government becomes too powerful. It's about balance between the federal and state governments, between centralized authority and local control, between the government and the people. This amendment helps prevent the kind of overreach that can lead to tyranny. It puts a speed bump in the road when Washington tries to stretch its authority too far. The founders believed that local government is closer to the people, and therefore more responsive and more accountable. That's why they gave so much room for states and individuals to handle their own affairs. 10th Amendment in action, historical and modern examples. Throughout American history, the 10th Amendment has been at the center of debates over federalism, how much power the federal government should have compared to the states. Some examples: nullification and states' rights. In the 19th century, some Southern states wrongly tried to use the 10th Amendment to defend slavery and reject federal authority. That misuse led to deep constitutional conflict, and ultimately the Civil War. New Deal era. In the 1930s, the federal government greatly expanded its power under FDR. Some critics said it was violating the 10th Amendment by taking over areas like labor and agriculture that had historically belonged to the states. Modern healthcare and education. Debates over federal programs like the Affordable Care Act or national education standards often hinge on 10th Amendment questions. Should Washington be setting these policies, or should the states decide for themselves? It's worth noting that courts don't always enforce the 10th Amendment as strongly as some might hope. Over time, the federal government has grown much larger and more involved in state matters. But the spirit of the 10th Amendment continues to guide debates about limited government and state sovereignty. The 10th Amendment and you. This isn't just a theoretical debate. The 10th Amendment matters in everyday life. It affects what your children are taught in school, what your tax dollars fund locally, what laws apply to your property and community, how responsive your government is to your needs. When decisions are made closer to home, you have more influence. The 10th Amendment helps keep that power in your hands, and out of the hands of distant bureaucrats. The 10th Amendment is a quiet guardian of liberty. It doesn't list a specific right, it protects a structure where government is limited, power is shared, and freedom is preserved through balance and restraint. It reminds us that the Constitution isn't just about what the government can do, it's also about what it cannot do. In a constitutional republic, the people are sovereign. The 10th Amendment ensures that sovereignty is not swallowed up by the federal government. It protects state authority, local control, and individual freedom. And most importantly, it keeps alive the founders' vision that government exists to serve the people, not to rule them. Thanks for listening. I'm Christopher, and this has been the Patriot Report. Stay informed, stay free,